We already discussed many points, so to continue and to reiterate, the garland of views, Guru Rinpoche's composition, a garland of views, is a condensation of the extensive Tantra, the Guyagarbha. The garland of views condenses and summarizes all the vital points of the Guyagarbha Tantra, the most vital central point being the indivisibility of purity and equality. Indivisible purity and equality. When we say purity, we're not just talking about, we're not just saying that external phenomena are pure or that internal phenomena are pure. We're saying that all phenomena, without exception, are pure. So the entire environment, all external phenomena, all of the beings and within the environment, all of the contents of the environment, including your own basic awareness. All of these are primordially pure.
Tati taba de pet tagine chige sangi chumden de da sangi chumden de kontu tene changpara rwa chen da sheri pu lorji sheba na shin chege teswa na shin re teni tal lungi goden tangwa yena naran so do na la kan so do so na migdan na wa na yan chama mi tingjing gyal do na migdan na wa na yan chama mi chetan lwe ge yege chama mi galde ongbon de da che na phabinam ge sura ji shik chas teswa re dedi donda kan so na 미다 나와나야 참만면 세대가 단단가랑 미게 수통된다고 단다다 미게 드네서 나위게다 나이게 티제로 루이키라 잘라서 단단가랑 카리 잠불은 카리 연구요나 탐지리 나라서 공익이 셰비고니 균이 연구요 때로 똑지스기지요 되게 때도 소바담데 제고요 디나와 탐지디 단단가랑서 통교때 나라서 세고라 단간서 오스트레일리아랑 인 디나는 아주 멜번 나나다 에범게 쇼존디 나는 아 퍼센트 수익하면 나가티 인센티브 하도는 삼대되어 니 리디 니 사이스차다 대도요 진짜기 때문에 pen 땅아라서 당선 내셔널 레디직스 당이 약합니 사자시오 샤천지 되고요. 뜻인가 지도한테 약보레스게요. 나랑 그때 약보 있는 셔게요. 레테 땅아라서 통교때 출바 말에 맞출바 레스게요. 오니 지나 약보 있다가 있는 나랑 통교 탐제기 때문에 출비기 등 출독다다마도 요 말에 숨고요. 그래서 강에서는 미간 나와나야 참만민 생각은 통 참마성인데 브라만나 시비달레타나데 맞출봤어. 밀로왔어. 근데가 나랑 통교 탐지 demba이나 이 상기 좀 된데 기습박한지 그래. 장주선 만남 기습박한지 그런 거를 붙이 기습박한지 그래. 나랑 강 통교 때 라이나 이 제디 상기 기습 편도 말했어. 미간 나야 참만민 나랑 통교 때 이제한테 통과 말했어. 미게 통화다 나이 통화 단단가라 통계 탐지 통고요 때 통화 말이야 통고요 때 통화 때 양다고 봤던 타르도 과제를 했잖아 말했어 그랬어.
In terms of establishing this truth of purity, I shared with you the story from one of the sutras from Buddha Shakyamuni's time, where Shariputra and the other disciple had this different perception, and Buddha Shakyamuni revealed the inherent purity of the environment, right? We can also establish purity by means of scriptural quotation. So, for instance, we can look at a quote from the King of Samadhi Sutra, which reads, if all of the senses, just to paraphrase, if all of the different senses of the eyes, ears and so on were valid, if one's consciousnesses were valid, if one's perceptions were valid, if that were the case, then what would be the use of enlightened vision or noble vision, meaning the perspective, the vision of the enlightened ones? We have these various senses, right, of the eye, the ear, the nose and so on. Through those sense faculties, with our consciousness, we perceive various things. We see things, we hear things. We also have our mental consciousness, and based on through our mental consciousness, we develop all manner of concepts about who we are, where we are, what things are called, place, direction. So this is Australia. We're in Melbourne. And I am this person, this is my identity, I'm established with these sorts of characteristics, this is who I am. or maybe, yeah, I'm an Australian, and maybe you feel kind of nationalist, you feel patriotic, and maybe that's a good thing, sure. I might agree with you, sure, that's a good thing. But is it a valid thing? Is it a correct thing? Well, no. All of these perceptions are mistaken and deluded. Yes, they occur, yes, we experience them, but that doesn't mean that they are real. It doesn't mean that they are correct, sorry. In fact, if we examine them, we find that, just as Buddha said in the King of Samadhi Sutra, all of these perceptions, perceptions and notions are not valid. If they were valid, if our perceptions were valid, then the perceptions of the enlightened ones, the perceptions of noble beings, which are quite different from ours, right? Their perceptions, their insights would be redundant, would be useless. And there would be no change or no need for us to change or do anything. That's all.
Yeah, the Naranzo Tonga Chiti, Tonga Yanta Parina, Sanji is the go Mare, Steam Dukan Naranzo Tomba Te, Kantonga Te, Tonga Nanshi, Resanki, Jiting it to a restaurant.
So, if our perception was correct, then we would have no need of enlightened perception, enlightened vision. And if we didn't need, if we had no need of enlightened perspective, then we also would have no need of the path and the stages of the path. And if we have no need of the path and its various stages, then also we have no need of the fruition, the state of enlightenment.
남주 등 안절을 하요스 그 남주의 맛이 직바에 미탐질 남주의 바지 강실라 미게 통계적인 디 통당되기 네 띵사바당 자체를 보고요. 다 띵하는 example 이게 되는 para 페샤와이 상지기 스바이는 때 딜레 경망하지 식도와데 되네 나도 두그릇 가서 상지 쓰긴데 참아 탐지게 타부터 보다 스바 탐지게 타도 바이도 데를 하와스 두그릇 스틴데 가나 캬안서 세리과서라 이제적인다 나도 세리과서에 오 원에게 당강 통화때 탐지대 직원에게 그러면 네 나야 고주도 망주다 직원에게 14회 고주 망고 두선에 당상에 캘링지기도
These days modern scientists are examine the earth, the water, the different elements, different aspects of the world, and through their examination they are discovering things that we ourselves do not know or did not know, right? Scientists can see and come to understand things that we cannot see with our own senses and understanding, right? So this is just an example to illustrate this point. Through scientific investigation, scientists might discover something about water, say, that with our own senses, like a visual sense, and also with our own intellectual understanding, we have not been able to understand, but they've been able to penetrate deeper, right, into the reality of that phenomena. So this is just an example. Just as scientists might have more penetrating insight into the reality of something, likewise, compared to the perception of us sentient beings, the Buddhas, the enlightened ones, have an insight that penetrates not just more deeply, but actually like they have the consummate kind of penetrating vision into ultimate reality in its entirety.
Then chiwa chuma nyonsa toza te serbati toza serbu nyo tongores. Then taron dile toza nyo na de serja to tongores. Tene mi auzena tene je karo shukchewa tong karjaram tong gar. Te mi tsani kyo me ke tene karo karjam tong gar. Pe tina sing tabaram chung ge sikwa te ya sa ni sa ye parto sa tangbo ta tangbo cholam jolam ka tangbo gowa tene je tene nyawa tene tokba ngone komne ya tokba sedu shiba. Se ta ngaram ta gyuru sawa ni buta kan chite wo ni buta ge sa tina la ina tene mangbu ge khabar ni ku la ina ya ji ngone ge 고비 구스긴데 오다 테네 지스레 도인지기 테네 축구다 테네 무슨게 고다 사탕보로 무슨 고다 테네 송죽다 송죽 터두게 송죽이 구스긴 꿀라이네 개버된다 테네 란주 이시 응원 삼었다가 있나요 테네 진짜게 고비게 왔을 때 테네 영위게 왔을 때 테네 왔을 사탕보게 왔을 때 테네 예 송죽이 왔을 때 송죽 챙겨 왔을 유진기 이시 거나야 디바타 또탄 얌린 체중 거네 유진기 거네 개버셔래 꾸디시 율거네 대야 따도 거네 개버들 셔버스 디도 탐치디 간에서 빼나 다당가 속에 동가로데 라틴에 치바징게 동서로 통과나 신지기 디디야야야서 친니징게 나자데 망 용용용서 동데 까르도 통과나 신지기 당님 때바 이름이게 따와라 고바이어도 시 율디야다 난기티네 shepatin ta de lu mong chang nga so tenga de lu to thang gi du te din ze lu tik ta ne ta de long de mong chang tu ze mong do ja gare te gyur sa wa nyong te se na chi chi ta dan dan nga so gari ko wa cha ko gor se ban jo chi ngo gu de tham je de ran sin du ta pa ren do a nga rang so tham je ya rig thol ne yo ma re gyul chu le yo ma re tang le ta chu le yo ma re ho ta mo ge khe par yo ma re tham ji ji shi gi de wa shi pi ni bo ran ju gi shi de 좀 네팅 틱톨로 마르기 차바 나신지 탐지를 캡되어래 딜레 상해요 말에 동나신이래 되어래 동나신이래 다 딜레 치와 내 치고 줘서나 동디스로 마 통해 나신지 리바 이시 요나야 아랑 저기 되네 디비기 딥되게다 되네 내루고 신줄로 틀어 쉬고 디비기 견생기 아저게 내루 장신 통고 말다 디디야 오 셈로 거 템부 지샤네 되니 원에게 딩아랑 저게 jinsu sawa nyingbo tang doji sema sangi kya dorsim gomde kama rangari pati sangi ngone rendu a sangi dorji simbi ki sikpa thamsi de charchok nombar gebe shingam rendu a asaba jistamdili ichi yakwazi goni teni la gomunga ta teni treche ona teni penna teni garanzo teni chiwi ki nechana dunkaru thonga na jide tabaram jimde shargyu pen megi tabdeo tanga teni yawyun garis.
Another good example is that of a conch. A conch shell is white, right? But if you are sick with jaundice, you will see the white conch as yellow. It's not that the conch is yellow, the conch is white, but because of your illness, you see it as yellow. If then when your jaundice, when you start to recover from jaundice, then slowly as you get better, you'll experience the conch going from like deep yellow to ever more pale yellow until eventually it becomes white. That's what you'll experience as you recover from jaundice. It's not the case though that the conch is changing color. Your eyesight is improving so that you start off being sick and seeing the white conch as yellow, seeing something in a way that is not actually how it is. And you end up, when you've recovered from jaundice, you end up seeing the conch as it really is. You see a white conch as white. The process of coming to realize or recognize boundless purity is similar. Things are intrinsically pure, inherently pure. All things are inherently pure. Nevertheless, we don't see it, just like a person with jaundice not seeing the whiteness of the conch. We need to, just like a person with jaundice slowly recovering, we need to first of all gain an understanding of boundless purity, like an intellectual understanding or conceptual understanding. Then we need to develop that understanding into experience. And then we need to develop our experience into realization, direct realization. So in this way we can gradually come to understand, experience, and then actually realize, realize the intrinsic purity of all things. This is taught in the Guhyagarbha Tantra. The need to first of all develop an understanding, and then experience, and then realization. This is taught in relation to so many aspects of purity. For instance, the kaya, pure bodies, pure forms. It's said in the Guhyagarbha Tantra, first of all, you should develop what we call an abstract image. It's a kind of conceptual understanding that relates to the reality but isn't quite the reality. And then you should develop that into a direct understanding, and then what's called unity, and then ultimate unity, and so on. So as we train on the path and move through the 5 paths and the 10 bhumis, then basically we gradually move closer to reality, to the state of reality, and come to see things more and more clearly. It's just to return to the example of the person with jaundice, right? As they go through their gradual process of recovery, their perception of the conch changes, right? Slowly, moving from yellow, getting paler, and then finally they see the conch as white. The conch always was white. Their perception has changed. So likewise, as we practice, we go through this process of inner recovery, so to speak. Our perception is purified, and as our perception is purified, then our experience of outer phenomena is purified, in the sense that the purity, the intrinsic purity of things is revealed to us. The point is, basically to sum up, the main point is that in reality everything is pure, inherently pure. All sentient beings have Buddha nature, Sugata Garbha. This has always been the case. This will always be the case. Buddha nature pervades sentient beings just like oil pervades the sesame seed. There is no distinction, no qualitative difference between the Buddha nature of different beings. It's the same in everyone, utterly pure. We don't see that because we're obscured, just like the person with jaundice. But if we practice, then we can become less obscured and slowly come to see things as they really are, which is intrinsically pure. We need to gain conviction, confidence that this really is the case. Okay, I don't experience it right now, but in reality this is how it is. And with that conviction we need to engage in practice. For instance, Vajrasattva practice, which we're going to be doing in the coming days. You need to develop this understanding, this conviction in intrinsic purity, and then when you do your Vajrasattva practice, you should do it with that conviction. Okay, myself and all sentient beings, we really are Vajrasattva by nature. We are none other than Vajrasattva, all of us. And this environment is Vajrasattva's pure realm of great delight. With that unshakable conviction, you need to engage in your practice. And if you do, then the practice will be powerful and effective.
Takparam jam nati takparam jam sati kanga yuri go ne takpayen ba yulchingi go ne takpayen ba yulchingi go ne takpayen ba tia takpa tia ngarang so suyo mayen ba rangshingi nambar takpa yuri yulchin kamni tena yang takpayen ba ti tubaris ti tindu kanta ti di shie gu gidi kalchum kanta resilam na ngarang so do ti ten do kunchok jetin nangla ngarang do nangla rikpa tang shapsu tenba sayilab kar rikpa tang shapsu tenba rikpa sikindi tawari ti tine kora shepata gures gomba sekende shapta ore tene tawa to gomba ni de go yuta da rikpa ta shapsu temba pena nga to gomba jam joy na tambo mi gi thongo do lamga de mi gi thonge te gomba step chik ni sum shi kare jago do pena gyago do na kharang su tanda pe di chi ki shu ge racing chi do tre chi gyago do ge na mi te dor ma to mi chik sum sa ba to ten gel sare ana thong sare tre cha do pena mi de ta gi ge ji mi shi da do ti mi jago de tawa tre 당념 대바 이름이 통주다와래 딜에 냠렌제네 라고 응한데 드니 냠반지게 전에 되네 대규티 강바도 오세요 대규가 미기 통되나 공부만 좀 렘고 말 사실 인지미지 공부 좀 들어 그래 따왔던 공부인데 계시고 쉬우인데 리파트 샵도 스데마 생각랑서 control지 된나다 답을 된 거라 맞죠 담지 control지 된도 계란서 대 숨고 있지리 뒤인데 강나 리파트 샵도 된바세도 강나 리파트 근데 따와 미기도 샵나 샵스긴데 강바도 디네테 고바자간도 di gompa taw gom di kampa taw ti so tin di kala tangbo jirte tin tagi section tangbo ti an tirang she ni ba terang ti she kamare ta ngo nyo ki chikse sambo di nen ka shibu shibu jire ti nen ka shibu ya bo ha go so ma jo de shenda so tam je do she na o di den dressing ki ha ko do re tin di kan tangbo tawa de ke che mo re mi do re tene gomba de kan che re kampa taw jire tin di kan tawa de tangim de ba yen me she ki ti tao mi do de ha ka hu ma gona tene gomba ya ko yang mi ya ko ma tin gomba jam gen ro ndo re sa se le maris
we can talk about, and the tantras talk about, establishing the purity of the object, establishing the purity of the subject, establishing the purity of both, and so on. The point is that all of them, subject, object, both, everything is established to be naturally, primordially pure. This is not something that's manufactured, created, fabricated. It is the intrinsic natural state of things, purity. In a sutra called the Recollection of the Three Jewels, that it's often chanted aloud. Some of you might be familiar with it. In our monastery we chant it, in our tradition we chant it often, almost every day. There's a line there describing Buddha as being endowed with awareness and endowed with feet. So when it says Buddha is endowed with awareness, it's referring to the view which are like eyes. And when it says Buddha is endowed with feet or legs, it's referring to Shabsana Gomba practice, meditation, in terms of view and meditation. So if we want to walk, first of all we need to see where we're going, right? We need eyes. If you cannot see where you're going, you're going to trip over and fall, right? So you need clear vision. And secondly, you need feet. When you can see clearly and see the path where you're going to go, and you have feet, then you can move into action and walk, right? So this is to say that we need both the view and we need the meditation. But first of all, we need the view, the eyes that see where you're going to go. Then you need your feet, which can follow your vision, right? So in this case, we're talking about the view of purity and equality, inseparable purity and equality. First of all, we need this view, and then following on from the view, we need practice, meditation. Why am I repeating this? You might think, why is he saying the same thing over and over again, maybe using different examples, but the reason I'm repeating this is because it is so important. We need to repeat important points, right? Really need to kind of, stress this important point, because this really is the heart of the matter, the crucial point here. We need to establish the view of boundless purity and equality, the inseparability of purity and equality. This is the view. Everything follows the view, right? So first of all, we need to establish this view, which is like eyes, and then following that, we need to establish our feet, so to speak, which is the meditation. That's it.
Yeah. The Kangla, Tangam Dembatawa, Edmit Sheku, the Kitchen Boindu, Tambo, Tilatine, Koya, Puchileva Chekores. The Indu Kantang around to Sosuki in Dukanala, Shuchi Haku Marte, Makurunte, Tambo Tening Aranso, Lumna Yiche. Oh, yeah. The Netina, she repacket, Kalakasum Tatu, Kalakasum Tatu, take it down at that around Ripago and a taking around so Magini. Topashi tensik tang tensunang na tene pe mi kya che pasung or ta tensunang ta pare te te de kana tangi chen zhe yang dung ji she bai na tene dung ji she wa ngoma dang arang so dunjum ling ba to tung dunjum ling ba te pe me pe kang jin jong ngom ne sam ki me che ke che tu ni ting la ma ten kong re ting arang so ta da dunjum chi tri shi do che te dunjum ling ba ke tene tu wa re tene dunjum ling ba te tene ngoma 다 용자 되지 남탄 나라 요래라 근데 바바기 저라 용자 도래 Tende 콩 tene 구 sombu korona santo pari pepto gores. Tene yondar tene sege tende kana te pepto kana kande ji pepgere dosana. Tene ta kamlung bala tede kana konso dropare khamba yo dinashi building yo mare bapu me bashung tene pian tene yosare. Tene dorji kitum shan tene konta santo pari pepto gores nguru bich kundin cheshu bada ta nguru bich kundin ta aso discuss tene che pepto gores tene yondar inde Timriki tine loril tema yiriyase tina sumire tine pepdo te kongla ugur nanga shu tine nyabarisha tine chendira asa tine nima dunji ki ringla shala chogo mare sung tia kyo mare gun nangshi chane tine si nima dunji ki tine shukta tine nima dunji ki jela tine laryan tine kuzu ki yar pepne tine mila che sung ala soba ta tine ngaranzo ta je ngaranzo ki mii ki te activity soba marabta Tinangyo, te tiru kong ta choyo so idan gurumbuchi kundine senyo kutine wang dile senyi choyo dile senyi se dile sungo yoris. Te tiru kong ta pe dile jen, tine yang pe tu kong korang ki loma chi yoris te. Loma te pe mi dunjun bochi le teba chimbo korang ta loma sangi ngu ki tine teba yosare. Tine kong dunjun ling pala shuyo ni te kia tine sangto pari takwar pep chokudu. Ta nga yang nima chi sangto pari chiro chis, shuyo res. Te dunjun bochi yungu mara kyo le mata te leptu mara ta inji miji nga chi nama chi chiro chi se te usu gyabni te shiyo desu te shiyo te kanga dunjun baga yaana dungi sana donan tegri ta nga kyo nga chal nyabar sha ta sangi ten tusu tile ta tsewa chudu yi sara mangcha tse chudu tenra pe tu ta nga ya dungi te kyo ngi tam ten dorji ki tum ten zogba shimo ta pe riko ma chi nga la ma tang tene ki rangsi ma chi nga nyabar sha kyo nyabar sha ni desu tar nyabarsham desun ta rangsa majo gi dia tama nesha ta rangsa majo ingirwa tene rangsa majo be nyabarsham kyan de tene ngi gi tene ge senge chalpu sena da tene tene laba de yawa je sing des engani santo parile to ke resum des tene kon tendun te ayas te kollo ma di pete ba chi bushi mi sa ten kon nyamlen chimbo ingirwa pe me nyamlen chimbo mena ta santo parile to gi mate ko tel nyabarsham ten lama tangas mi yerme to teni, ta teti ngi suyo iti, suyo sina ti re, ti maina tina yung tabi yung. Te langsa yerme tu zogpa chimi nga ten, te dunjun lingpi ki sengi surga tila rar, ta jisun te detiras. Teri, tira chigi dewa nga kapsun namka chigi, urtu kuchi konda kuchi chigi, urtu, usagi ravi chi nawa shati kuma, te, chigi nga nigi, chigi nga rangsa tanda ki di nawa mayimba, nawa raji gyurni chigi, namka kira pulro ngi nawa nda chigi, tindri ki ten nawa shivu shuk chumbo shati. 다 keramik zum diyorsunuz. Dağlar keramik zum diyor. Dene sonra gurumbucu dar, ransım yerime dene yaparışan diyor. Dene, çık, pundu anlamışı. Dene yarından var ya lepsede kan, daha çizsene sanda var. Dene düşünün böyle. Da keramik de çeşiyorsun işte. Kuyucuk mi giyacık çeşiyordu kan, çık muni ki saça çembu şucuk lepti dostı. Saça tam çık mun nolondu, çık nakbu duruyor degin. Diye gung denen çık. Londo which around Nimigo or chim chip was used on what chick tongue. It didn't be sonny. That Kunguru Jalgi do it. She so get Jalgi do it, using Champo Jalga, that's on top of election levels. Coaching a tongue. They will chick tongue to then watch which tongue with Motos and a Kaka tongue window. Who down then Gurumbuchi and so get down to the Gurumbuchi of Jackie Gaza tongue window. 다음에 그런 도시가 나타나야 구름부지 군이 야르더니 공군들의 대신 독이 등아 말래요. 결혼들 되셔서. 대다이게 결혼된데 고대대됐어. 대대 능중능 앞에 없어서 앞에 남상 앞에 없어. 근데 여기 앞에 당한 구름부지 잘 살서 구름부지 군이 최도 배하고 좀 당연히 말로. 코니 까르마니 숨지마도 나와 마셨네. 양 지금 나오대 그런 양 우르 지금 다들 지금 공부했으면 지금 para tingarans에 이제 지금 다 템퍼처를 좀 데려치니까 대박이 lep사tus. 야 다야 미가치 지금 이제 되니까 코스는 나도 단단한도 다들 깔망가지 걸마서 뭐 데려지 걸마서 괜찮아 나도 버리지 다 된줄링 거기 생각 아니네. 나도 이제 다야 미담말 미좀 지기 lep사선선. 말지 되니까 미소게 교등님은 뒤인직 배상도에 간지 중에서 때 탐지님은 뒤인직 나오셨어. 님은 뒤인직 거라 남랑 님은 눕 남랑 님은 뒤인직 다다서 그런 게 나와라 야르 도다 만도 니 कर्मंगा게 나와셔. 되는 말 좀. 근데 예 그룹이 잘 깨서 헬로제 onse me 콘 나와 들으셔. 대대표 내가 다 기계도 상태 공님만 된지 송야기는 지르고 어때 차장 때문에 그런 미탐적님만 된지 너도 스콘스나 사자 칼라마 dunjum bana신 샬라마 쥐지가 물교마님만 된지 살살네 되는 말 게데데 나한테 가긴 그런 분이 잘 맞아 어지고마 다 그런 어디 잘게 돼 그런 레 아웃다고 따라마도 레 맞다나 그 상도버 레는 그 상도 그런 분이 잘게 말했어 되는데 딱 단다데 어디 잘게 돼 그런 게 되는 레다데 된데 되는 그런 분이 잘게 돼 테레스 땡하고 레 맞다 봐이나 아람도 상도버리 레 나야 제 디나신 견서 아스트레일리아나 싱싱나다 자자보다 현 통사 말했어 인도 그가 다 맞았으면 그랬어.
So we need to understand the inseparability of purity and equality, right? I'm saying it again. And the text explained that, first of all, we need to come to understand this conceptually. And to do this, then we need to study and read and hear about these things. As ordinary beings, our capacity to study and so on might be limited, but still we need to engage in study. We need to read whatever texts are available to us, and do so really with faith, with faith and trust in the scriptures, and in what they teach. And then to go through the process of study. For instance, to study the reasonings called the 4 realizations, which are taught in the Guyagaba Tantra, which establish boundless purity through logical reasoning, and so on. So this you guys need to do for yourself. Another story to illustrate the reality of boundless purity. In the past, there was a master called Dujum Lingpa, or the Haruka Dujum Lingpa. In Tibet, a renowned master. He was exceptionally both learned and accomplished, celebrated master in Tibet. And Dujum Rinpoche, the famous Dujum Rinpoche, was an incarnation of... Jigdral Yeshe Dorje was an incarnation of this master, Dujum Lingpa. And Dujum Lingpa, during his lifetime, he would periodically go in person to Zangdot Pari, Guru Rinpoche's Pure Land, the glorious copper-colored mountain. This was something that everyone knew about and experienced. He lived in East Tibet, in Kham, so the eastern areas, in nomadic areas, so people didn't live in houses, but kind of more like tents, open tents. And once or twice a year, each year, he would, for a period of 7 days or so, he would enter meditation, sit in the meditation posture, enter meditation, and then his body would just become kind of inert, eyes wide open, body unmoving, and he would stay like that without moving at all, not drinking, not getting up, for 7 days. And during that time, he would go to Zangdot Pari to see Guru Rinpoche in person, to receive teachings, empowerments, and so on. And then he would come back after 7 days. He would return, so to speak, and then he would again, move and interact with his students, teach, perform his activities. This wasn't something that only a few people saw. Everyone in the area saw this happen again and again. He had a student. One of his students was extremely devoted and really perceived Dujum Lingpa with pure perception, such that he saw him as the Buddha in person. He had this kind of unshakable devotion, and he kept insisting. He kept saying to Dujum Lingpa, "Please take me to Zangdot Pari. Please take me to Zangdot Pari." I can't find where I've written this. "Please take me to Zangdot Pari." And Dujum Lingpa replied, "It's not possible. You don't have, your karma isn't pure enough." But he kept on insisting. So Dujum Lingpa said, "Okay, fine." On this day, he said on Guru Rinpoche Day, the 10th day of the lunar month, usually he would leave on the 10th day. He said, come into my tent, sit with me, sit in the meditation posture, enter, rest in equipoise in the state of the great perfection, in the uncontrived state of the natural great perfection. Obviously this student was quite accomplished, right? And remain in that state, and at the same time hold on to the end of my Zen, my shawl. So you've got to sit in great perfection meditation and hold on to my shawl, and then I should be able to take you. So he did, Dujun Rinpa also said to him, and close your eyes. So he did all this, held on to Dujun Rinpa's shawl, and then he started to feel like they were flying or something. And the air became, the space became, there was kind of this thunderous sound, and he felt like they were flying, or almost like he was fainting. They were traveling, through space. And Dujun Rinpa said, but keep your eyes closed. And then they sort of arrived somewhere, and Dujun Rinpa said, okay, now you can open your eyes. And what he saw was a really huge area, very dark, and in one space, this kind of big sphere of light, like sunlight, just glowing. And Dujun Rinpa said to him, what do you see? And he said, all I see is this kind of bit of light there. And he said, you don't see Guru Rinpoche, do you? You don't see the Dakini Yeshit Sogyal, the 8 Vidyadharas. He said, no, I just see this light. And he said, I told you, your karma's not pure enough. And he said, well, that's how it is, so you stay here. I'm off to see Guru Rinpoche. And he went off and he saw Guru Rinpoche in person, and Yeshit Sogyal and the Vidyadharas and so on and so forth, and received teachings and empowerments and had discussions with them. And then he came back to his student who could only see the light, and he said, now hold on to my shawl again, close your eyes. And again, the sky filled with noise, and he felt like they were kind of flying through space, almost like fainting, that kind of experience. And then they arrived back in a normal environment. The student felt like only 5 minutes had passed. When he arrived back, yeah, that's what he said. He said, but we were only there like 5 minutes. But all the other people in the area, all the other locals said, no, you've been away for 7 days. 7 nights have passed, 7 full days. We've been here. For us, it's been 7 days. And Dujun Rinpa could report to them, what he'd talked with Guru Rinpoche about that time, and what teachings he'd received that time, and so on. But this student had only seen the light. Still, Dujun Rinpa said to him, the fact that you could see light shows that you have purified your karma to a significant degree, The fact that he could see light, was something. So this story, where is this story? It illustrates the fact that our karma, whether our karma is pure or not, dictates how we perceive things, right? So until our karma, for instance, we're here in Australia apparently, until our karma is purified, even if we were taken to Zangdok Pari, like that student, we probably wouldn't have the karma to see anything more than what we see here, just ordinary earth, some trees, some rocks, some mountains, right? Because it depends on our karma.
Oh yeah, tini indi kala ta tanda sheba na shinchege rangi chisa lo nabar mata ina samba pari china ya chi chige salwo chita yapuji tongdang yu chewa samare rangi nawa ta sunani tata rangi di nawa rang tine samba pari shinkam yinba ta pingpu nga yene sangi yinba ta junga nga yene tine yung nga ye sangi yinba ti ta tuwa ta tenzo tamche ti tukju kawa tukdori sa tangpo tawa la tukdori ngiba gomba la tukdori kata ye sage ripa tang shab denba asake tawa yang tangpo tangyum denba yermi ki tawa jingi dila tine nga ranzo yapu gomtup dila chungso panchun ten tadik nawan deyang tine nari taparam chumso sharki yuwa di indi kanga ta sogu di tangpo ten tawa kal chewari di jela te gomba de kal chewari te tawa to gomba nyi to ten sona tine ngani nga ranzo ripa tang shab denba asake dewe tine di chato yu tu kama ten tangpo tawa di gechimba tine res.
So that's how it is depending on how pure or impure our karma is, then our vision, our perception, our experience likewise is pure or impure. That being the case, if we completely purify our karma, purify our perception, then we can experience Sangdokpari, Guru Rinpoche's Pure Land, right here and now. Right here and now. But until our perception is purified, we're not going to experience that, right? That natural intrinsic purity. So, such is the way of things with pure perception or pure experience. All of this, though, comes down to the view, right? The view, our perception. Yeah, perception isn't good there, sorry, the view. Just as the scripture I quoted earlier stated, the Buddha is endowed with awareness, meaning eyes or vision, and feet, meaning meditation, right? But first of all, the view, the vision, the awareness comes first, right? And based on that, then we can have proper meditation. And with those two, then we can really proceed. And yeah. So first of all, we need to establish the view, and with a genuine grounded view, then engage in meditation, and then we will become endowed with awareness and feet, endowed with eyes and feet.
Yeah, that in the Kanap, that Ranzo didn't like Kansasana, you saw in book, or didn't do given Nala, Yanda ship, Rari Lumina, the Shishingam Yanson Nisuton. Tilsuing between get a topana, Yanson Naka woman garden names, that is on the data, duty cigarette, did give us a cigarette. Yanda ship, Rari Luminas, should come to Niluyantava. She began Tinetawa, Yanta Big Rari Lumina. Tanyam Demba yet machine Giloti Beba Yanas, the Shakespeare young Yanson Nesoton, Sata Tanyam Demba Yermishi Vigetawa, Yatagisikin Tea Bebaina, the Shaking young Yanson Nesos, the worship wishing him getting so young. Yanson as it told us that Penata immediate around which it tongue. Nazo to end that they delay to a Tarok, Australia, the Jakakibu Yahutu, delay you at the Tongu in Gayoles. The Indian so the Rangetawa Ketiabuji Koma Georgetown. Ranga Tanyam Demba, Yermig Tawala, Tambotawa, Takshamajita, Nipa Gumbi, Yam, Yang Manyan, Gutsingi, Titongo Yores. Texturing Yambi to Nitobanas, Nyanson Nega woman conditions. That texturing Yamba Nigitawas, Tanyam Demba, Yermig Tawa, the Kaldi Texosana, Zopashibatawa, Tapatamji shot to give us Zopashimbre. Yamba Nigituna, Tanyam Demba, Yermig Tundi Kugi, Tambotawi Gune, Top, Gumbi, Yabuji, Yamin Chuaina. Nyanson Nega Mingatinians, Nyanson sitting Yalwata Yeta Tunduserva, Nyanson second Duxure, Yalwata Yeta Tundugin Tamcheya, only Tenekarba Shinkam, oh, Yatene, Korpatapi Shinkam Samba, Parinda Utano, Tenisha, Obergavishkam Lasova, take it on two Kres, Tingi Lapiomare, Durjisham Sonjore, Durjisembi Sonjore, Gutucha, Durjisembi Sonjora, and the Gutusam of this one. Takaran Tamjaya, Tawa Tita Tempico, and Sakum, Nantana. Sadanga Gumbi Tonda series and Tapo Tanyam, the Bayermi Shibi Tondare. Oh, Yamata with now Tamjaka, non really some Hanga Shugi Kusida, now Tamjal had of Tata from the general Shingi was a Gumwiki, then around Sang Chi Dig Tenekatana, captured Jose, Ding around Tatali was Sanjore, Tindicala, Tatanga of Hagum, the matter with now the Jangu Tondare. Because like maybe like at the Sunni teaching to some butters to some identity, Tonda maybe like Pemi Tonda simple and dig it in version of Thai kitchen up down, things kitchen up down, not kitchen up down, Tundun kitchen up down, the nature said a compa Minjiki time, the Bayermi compatil down the kind of thing around Zoina. Take into the Chang Yel Gujiman, we are personal Chang Yel Chang. When the pub you did near Guinea Park to lawyer, Tumshant Barga, the Shine Langro. Oh, dinner, she get that flat and out the Abodon, the Tanyam, the Bayermik now at the Ampere, Yacharo. Chitangi Chanchusam Gomnaya, Yabure, Tombani Gomnaya, Yaburete. Haberto, some of Kirim second get a flag computer now that you don't get on it, so making you run down the Beba. That flag computer, Tanyam, the Bayermik Tower machine. Ang alay is going to count it. Chichiga, Nazi, Tower, the name and Dimpicum, the Pampa me only. The Tanyam, the Bayermi, she in the Tanyam, the Bayermi, Haku, Tony, then flat going on that. They took him to the Chivana. 당념 된바 열매들 딱 해서 당념 된바 열매선데 가만 다 심부래도 티 당념 된바데 간제지는 가서 뭐도 교르지 어다다 하고 나다 티도 당념 된바 열매 건도 집이게 탑사셔도 되겠어 티게라도 상이나 이때니 dorsim ko wang den den dorsim ki gomde chi ki tsukita de basic de shag yo sta wa.
In the extensive rendering of the Guhyagarbha Tantra, it's stated that if you, again to paraphrase, if you do not understand the genuine view, if you lack the genuine view, meaning the view of inseparable purity and equality, then you will see even the pure realms of the Buddhas as lower realms, as the hell realms and so on. If you lack the genuine view, if you lack the view of equality and purity and equality, even the pure realms, even if they were to manifest, well, they are manifest right here, but you will see them as the lower realms. Just to jump back to the story of the student who was taken to Sangdok Pauri, he didn't see Guru Rinpoche in person, but he saw like an orb of light. That's something, right? If we went there, probably we wouldn't even see that much, you know? Maybe Australia is this, you know, an ordinary country, but it's quite nice, right? So we'd probably see Sangdok Pauri as actually much worse than where we already are because of our impure karma. Okay, so if you don't have the genuine view, even the pure realms will be seen as lower realms. If, however, you have the view of the supreme vehicle, what's the supreme vehicle? The vehicle of the great perfection. So if you have the view of the supreme vehicle, the great perfection, namely the view of purity and equality, even the lower realms will be seen as pure lands, right? So even if you were to go to the lower realms, you will perceive them as the pure realms of, for instance, Vajrasattva's realm of pure delight or Guru Rinpoche's Sangdok Pauri. It's not me saying this, I'm quoting directly from the Guhyagarbha Tantra, which was taught by Vajrasattva himself. So this is how it is. If we have this view, conviction in this view of purity and equality, and based on that view or grounded in that view, we then engage in tantric practice of deity, mantra, and wisdom, we will be able to purify or correct our perception. We generally in tantric practice we talk about the threefold stance of deity, mantra, and wisdom, which is to perceive all appearances, sounds, and thoughts as the play of deity, mantra, and wisdom, right? So this practice should be of deity, the threefold stance of deity, mantra, and wisdom should be grounded in the view of inseparable purity and equality. You might think, yeah, if you lacking that view and understanding, you might wonder what the purpose actually of deity yoga and tantric practice is. You know, what's the point of visualizing the deities and chanting mantras and all of this? The point is to actualize, to actually manifest, bring into your own experience the reality of purity and equality. It's the practice of deity, mantra, and wisdom, deity yoga practice, that does that. That's the method. But that method, that practice needs to be grounded in the view, a conviction, even if it's just a conceptual conviction at first, in the inseparability of purity and equality. If we do practice like this, so again to reiterate, with a conviction in the view, we then engage in the practice of deity, mantra, and wisdom, then this really will be efficacious. Just like, I don't know if you guys ferment beer here, but in Tibet, people make beer from grain, and so over time the grain ferments, right? And the alcohol becomes stronger and stronger. So just like that, we could use the example. Our practice will be like this fermenting process. What's the fermentation? The fermentation is this manifesting or actualizing the state of purity, inseparable purity and equality. Generally speaking, of course, meditating on bodhicitta and so on is absolutely excellent and very, very effective too. Nevertheless, this tantric approach of deity yoga, practicing deity mantra and wisdom with conviction in the view of purity and equality is just extremely efficacious, an extremely powerful method for really just manifesting the intrinsic purity and equality of all things.
Oh yeah. The Indukala, Tangaran Soge, Tine, Kerim Nala Inaya, the Mahayoga Nala Kirim Magushoyore, Kerim Nabashilas, Nalgi John Wikiwa, Gongi John Wikiwa, Tugi Tinjovikiwa, Toshiriki John Wikiwa, Kerim Sekirim Nabashi, Zolim Layan, Zolim Nabashi. Oh, yeah, the Indukala, Tene, and Zorim Nala and Senchi Zorim, that Seme Zorim, Story Mamboyo, that's a long Tilila Subigi, Senchi Zorim down, Tintigitine, Zorim down. Oh, yeah, then Seme Zorim, Setikana, Rashin, came at the Gompu, didn't Seme Zorim. What that didn't take you among your Tamchi, the Nit Dushena, Tamchi, they get Tatu, Zombachim Tower to you. Zombachim Tower, Tanyam de Bayer Tower, Tamchi Tower, and duty liberty, long go to your. Quintin Jimmy becomes on the Sena, Gang to Gashi Lams of Tatatun, Tamche Louis to Conate, Domba Sunda gets of Parchin so, Quinjan Zobachim, Lamtegin, so the Sugi Karzana, Parchin threw down, or I think get him down, Zorim down, or Salon down, take it. Last what is what Tamche Zobachim, Danyam, but Yermikitine, Topic, Lamsam, till Lamjun do you getting around the Lantex and Agolota, chicken, and do you terrace. This song, the Indukala, then around the time them by ear make a tower, the Sheku Ketchambore, and it did in on the Chevarchavala, Haku Nanda, I carry Minare, carry with the opening around Sogi, Dorjis people, and carry Magonare, Juntul Kitine, tell Talwazon and Senchi Semiki Kilko come around Zori Mango, that is what Tamchi Kumputi, then Delatine, then a time them by ear made the Chikugi, Tapshitri. Tin Kirim Kisama Yapucho, Zorim Kisama Yapucho, Tanyam Yermete, Tanyam Race and a Gomogo. Tango issue go for the Parkapin, was Tanyam de Yermete Rangi, the Necro Tibata, the Chant to Conta Rangi, Uniki para Tanyam Tibata, the Dunjum Banashinta, Sangi Jum Den, the Samba, the Rabachi, Toana Shinjagi, the Nation will get your service. Mazola in the experience made in a tendency of Kujitus.
The Mahayoga Tantras, the Mahayoga teachings, teach the Kerim, the generation stage, different types of generation stage practice, like the 4 types of generation stage corresponding to the 4 types of birth. So birth from an egg, from the womb, from heat and moisture, or from miraculous birth. There are also 4 different types of completion stage practice, or for instance, we can say the completion stage with characteristics and completion stage without characteristics. Completion stage with characteristics can refer to, for instance, the yoga's training in the subtle channels, winds and essences. Completion stage without characteristics refers to training in the naturally unborn state, and so on and so forth. There are all of these different levels and stages and types of practice taught in Mahayoga and so on. All of them are contained, however, in the great perfection, the view of the great perfection, which is none other than the view of inseparable purity and equality. Longchenpa taught, Longchenpa stated this and more. Rinpoche quoted a verse, but I'll just paraphrase it. He said, all of the different teachings from the 6 paramitas, the 3 types of vows, the different types of generation stage, completion stage, and so on, all of these are stepping stones to the view of the great perfection. All of them, they're stepping stones, or you could say like a staircase to the great perfection. All of the different practices are leading nowhere else but to the view of the great perfection. So everything is contained within, everything leads to the view of the great perfection. So the view of inseparable purity and equality. So we need to learn about this, right? It's something, this view is something that should be explained, studied, but it also needs to be practiced by means of the tantric practice of deity, mantra, and wisdom. So deity visualization, mantra recitation, and so on. That practice needs to be done, as I've said, with a conviction in inseparable purity and equality, a real conviction that that really is how things are. I don't see it right now, but that is how things are. And then you engage in the deity yoga, which is in accord with that reality of inseparable purity and equality. And that practice then will function as a skillful means to bring the reality of purity and equality about, to actually make it manifest to us. Manifest in the same way as it was to Dujum Lingpa and other great masters who perceive things, who perceive indivisible purity and equality directly, just as they are, and as a result, he could go to Zandok Pari, see Guru Rinpoche, receive teachings, and all of that. I myself don't, it's not to say I have personal experience of this, but I know from other teachers and teachings that this is the case. If we engage in practice in this way, cultivating conviction in the view, and then putting that into practice through meditation, deity visualization, and so on, then we really can bring this view into our experience and manifest that for ourselves.
Yeah, that's one.
Nice.
Yeah, take what about good namsha the tongue, Kalima, the Devajam jogging state, and I kick us away. Mato Patan Loberto Choto Yanda Nimato. Oh, yeah, Dulwa Gomba Sanwatang, Ranshin Sanwi Tundam Ni, Seti Partutine, take what about good Tanare, Martans. Kerason
Sawala Yirola.
Mato Patan Loto. Ah. You choose some ballet. Wake Japshatan, telling them.
Oh, Ras.
Oh, someone in Bugate, Liu took some balay, that is all watching book, now at them. That book cannot part the Cheroch, Matopas chick. The name Lobertobas Niche, Chotobas Sumche, Yandangima Topache, she address. Mato, Loto, Choto, Yandangi Mato, Shirezon, Dulwa, Sichikche, Nache, Gombache, Tuche, Sanwache, Dunche, Ranshinche, Get, oh, Yatati, Ranshin Savit, Geres, one dinner party, Tatina, part now, young children. Tindical Tata de Latine, check the get in your rest. They are Tinala, young Nala, and Nancy, Tin a good child of rest. Atinala Tekwa Gujoga Keperson.
Sorry, just bear with me a second. Okay. So now to discuss the 9 vehicles themselves, each of them. The Guyagaba Tantra, in the 13th chapter of the Guyagaba Tantra, the lines read, no understanding, wrong understanding, partial understanding, non-understanding of the ultimately true nature, discipline, mind, secret, and natural secret. So 8 things. And then there is a further division of one of these, making 9. So these refer to the 9 yanas in total.
Yes, ma'am.
Nice.
Oh yeah, that is the kind of thing. This is our shane. Then, Tanyam de Bayer make it out at Tamago on the Dubro, Tago, to get one share it on to take the 20 years in a congressman. Those can go a large at all to the Hebrew shake with Tapshin Madoshen, than the Mengat Latin to Nala, Jugri Marche, in the Cantos Gumju Dog, the shake you take, and reaching a quad level catch.
So, this comes, and this quote is given at the. Okay, so this quote is actually with these 8 different phrases: no understanding, wrong understanding, and so on. It's actually outlining the different 9 yanas, the views of the different 9 yanas, from the perspective of the consummate view of inseparable purity and equality. In A Garland of Views, Guru Rinpoche actually starts off by enumerating the 9 vehicles like this. He goes through each of the 9 vehicles, and only late in the latter part of the text does he then introduce the view of purity and equality, the highest view. But I wanted to do it the other way, just to give you an overview and kind of the correct perspective. So I introduce the main point, which actually comes in the latter part of the text. I introduce that first with everything I've said up to now. And now we're going back to the 9 yanas themselves, which are introduced in this way: no understanding, wrong understanding. So this is all said from the perspective of the consummate view of purity and equality. That's all.
Oh yeah. Tindu kanta mato patang loparto segente sure. Choto yanta yimato sensore se de kanta tangbu nishula de zokwa chimbu ke tawa le de shanta tekwa rimba gui kebar she tang ta tekwa gu di rimba de nawa sangi ta ta re kala sa nyen tyo tekwa rangel tekwa chansim ki tekwa triya upayoga mahanu atis ki tekwa she tamche de tan do dang ki tekwa nyen tyo tekwa memba yore tekwa chimbu yore de nangla chagyu chorgyo na de tewe ki rimba de tekwa gu se chikse gyu de nangba sangi konong ge nangsengi kebar chire de indu kalta duru che mato patang lopar topa sakingi ni de dene chirul mutik bitawaya nangba sangi ge tangbo chir nangba sangi da chirul mutik bi kebar kande yume nangba sangi layang dene tekwa chechung ki kebar kande yume tekwa chenpo layang dene kansesa na ngaranzo sanga doji tikbi tekwa tang chidang ge dene tekwa la kebar kande yume ta dira pe shib sangpo chini shedo ge waris.
All of the 9 yanas all of the 9 vehicles are Buddhist vehicles, right? They're all Buddhist teachings. Some pertain to sutra, some pertain to tantra, but they're all Buddhist teachings, right? The first 2 phrases here, no understanding and wrong understanding, these actually are referring to non-Buddhist teachings, non-Buddhist approaches. Because Guru Rinpoche here wants to point out to us, first of all, what is the difference between non-Buddhist teachings and Buddhist teachings, right? And then, first of all, we need to establish that difference. And then so first we do that. That's no understanding and wrong understanding. And then we look at, okay, within the Buddhist teaching itself, what's the difference between the Hinayana teachings and the Mahayana teachings? And then we look at just within the Mahayana teachings, what's the difference there between, say, the Sutra teachings of Mahayana and the Tantric teachings of Mahayana, and so on and so forth. And all from the perspective of inseparable purity and equality.
This one? Yeah, that matopa secondary cancer and matopa the lotto in the chilnomotic bit of Tarashare, Namba Sangi Mayimbi, Otokia. Tella matopa secondary Jim Tamal Batamjer, Nanti Tabaramjam in the Hamakova. Tanyam Deba in Yermigin Tawa, Ganzaka Dame, the Chuki Dame La Sova. Dinner Hinjig in a Tanyam Deba, that's all Tanyam Deba Yerme Makova Savo Jargore. Don't sing it, take what and don't you to Makova Jargodo, Benanga teaching Sulchitaina. Dame per tomba sheba, Rashime per tomba sheba, tomba sheba, Nisume per sheba, Nyambagi to sheba, Singayuri. Did it and Nilutawa Tontan Goni, Nilutawa Totan Goni, Niantucha Ujina, Dame per Torete, Rashime per Mato, Semzambana Shinjigi, Sumarashime Concert and Zibarashime per Mato. Tenia and Dita Uji Sheba in a concert and Aranzo. Jansu Sampatorashana, Tombani share it, Nyabani Mashi, Nyabani is in a shoot of the yin Tapata Nyabay but Mashi. 인디 강라 니스메 브마시바세테 야 아디 요가 레오드가 마 요가다 아누 요가 소야 다소 니스메 비타와테 마시 당nhập 바 일미게 타와 타르고 쪼바시고 마시게 메라 인디가 둠다 그림바 샤비 강라야 딘데 케퍼나신 지긴 디야 디 네카부스 똥바니 된시고 말이 디 네카부 당nhập 바 일미게 또데 마토바 강마토 레스나 담바 냐바니게 또 마토레 초토스네 간세 로버토바스네 간세스나 나도 바람좀 로버토발 티자토 타타 등아랑 자탕 토세 도 생이 되바는 거 똥바니게 또 마토 지란 로요리 디 네카부스 당nhập 바 일미게 또 마토도 티티양 토스네 포이트 사고 또 소소리 야 다 마토발라 치를 못이 거 나랑서 치를 못이 버세 말 찌던 게 지는 직대바 탐지 나랑 탐지대 때 마토 바로 당연 바 일미게 또 마토 균생기 네 강방이 사장이 강방이 갈갑더니 땡이 게맹이 부두 네 프로퍼티 스타트를 미게 투바만 잡주지다 지금 가와이나 지금 오버스긴 딘두지 연낭시에 가서 지기도 직대바 탐지에 되네 그러바랑 저주 버기만 탐지 뭐 때문에도 마토비기 당연 바 이름에 마토비기 균생이 총으로 봐 대인도 마토바당 마토버서 근데 탐을 봐 dum달로 마슈되게 지단계 계란서 가란서는 지기 이마이 장은 지기 된다게 좀 해봐 지기 탐을랑 가란서 네 남균게 내가 제 오피스 도대 신가도 쉬어서 인트레스트 매되게 인트레스트 먹고 쉬고로 하고로 먹고게 룩세나 디바여 봐 하면고 꾸마점도 디바여 봐 하면고 미세나 디바여 봐 하면고 가게지 디바다 개와서 그 짠이 하면고 딘데 밑에라 마토파 스타트로 탐지야 말아서 대 당nhập 때 이름이 또 짠이 하면고 촉한데 하면고 때라 마토파스 비어레스 디디 되네 당nhập 때 마토고 당부직들레스
So no understanding. This is the first statement, right? And as I said just before, no understanding refers to non-Buddhists. Actually, in terms of non-Buddhists, it refers to just ordinary people who have no religion, no philosophy. We could say unreflective people. This is just most people, right? Common, your average person who is just a mundane, worldly person, doesn't question things, they have no spiritual view, no philosophy, no religion. They have no understanding of purity and equality, the view of purity and equality. They have no real examined outlook at all, full stop. They just, get up, go to work, they take everything at face value. They regard things as real, so then they have all these notions of, this is mine, my property, not yours. And based on this, all sorts of worldly conflicts and strife break out. This is most people, right? The unreflective. This is the first category, and what's meant by the first phrase here, no understanding. And again, all of these different phrases, or we could say categories, that we're going to go through now one by one, they're all being described from the perspective of the view of inseparable purity and equality, right? Because that is our stance point here, our viewpoint. Everything in this teaching is being taught from the perspective of the consummate view of the great perfection, inseparable purity and equality. From that perspective, such unreflective people, mundane people, have no understanding of this reality at all. In other contexts, the context of sutra teachings, for instance, there's a treatise by Rongsom Mahapandita called Entering the Middle Way. It's translated into English. There, Rongsom also presents and goes through a different kind of graded levels of understanding or views, but all from the sutra context. So there, his kind of stance, his viewpoint or basic stance is the realization of emptiness, right? Of the two types of selflessness or profound emptiness, because it's a sutra context. But here, our viewpoint, just to say again, is the inseparability of purity and equality. So from this point of view, the average person has no understanding.
Oh yeah. Tene ta mato ba sakin ta ton tangyam demba yerwe mato sen digi tene gyu ta ta tene ta chupa ya gyu ta chi chi she ta ngar kel kan ta ye ti kar para sen digi chi kham no chi bu mato ge je dang ge chulu nang ba ta tangyam demba yerme da pa sha da kiran Christian sakin to Hindu sakin to Muslim da ka ge me de ge chulu gu san ram to ta me de ge kor ba non religion serve ti kar yin de ge o tilate mato pa asares.
So again, someone with no understanding, these unreflective people, they all of their concerns are just for this life, what they see in front of them, accumulating, money and wealth or what have you, and getting embroiled in emotions of anger, jealousy, and so on. And there's no greater view or outlook. They have no religion, no philosophy.
Ta ti jela lobor to pas interest. Ni bat lobor to ta tian lobor to wat tian ta gem de ba yen me ki tawat ko yo maris. Tela mudik pas la wars.
Next category is those with wrong understanding. So these people have a wrong understanding of the inseparability of purity and equality. And this category of people with wrong understanding refers to the eternalist extremists.
Ta ti lobor tawa shi de la chiru mutik matawa de nang se gi na ngayo chiru targa de nga se ngayo res. Ting de tangbu ka ra sana wangchu tapratawa tila amawa tila ripa chamba se konjo chupat na ripa chamba ta ti pe gewa yo ripa chamba ta tinzo ti gewa she osamna chiru mutik bala tine zawi gi tine koraba churu de na takshe ni taktawa da chetawa ni tine para yewa ina tine chiru targa de nga tine targa de nga ni yaro yewa ina tine tukchu zangi chiru meta nangsige yewa koron na part mango yor manzo nyente cheta mawa na dewa shida dewa geda dewa chutu suyo oti na shin chin tukchu rangi tine para yege ina ta pemmege sumje tukchu rakchi rangi de chiyor te tin du kan ta tin tamchi de kiran house na kunje lonche ram jam gi jinzo na ta ge na tukchu rangi ge ten tawa do gamba tamchi song sha re tene ta chiru targa denga di geshin ge wa yore tene tenso tamchi de ta kyon da yonde ha ko na tenso kari kyon do tenso ge tam minda wa nangwa sangje kare do tene tangbo de da te nyentu rang jal ni minda wa kare do chiru mutik ba da nangwa sangji minda ka do nangwa sangji na na nyarangda mindawa kato se pitaki tini ewa di shee kurche wala parur kyonde haku kor mato ki mako ni nga nangba sangye kamade tsaa chenpo yin nga zo nangba sangye sikenti Hindu le tsaa che yin, Christian le tsaa che yin, Muslim tsaa che wa yin chokdang kete chato kres tindi ngoma sangye chumdinde tuyu so yang tini tinte zoba mangu chungo yore de zo zoba tamchi de chokri chatang mebe toni muni yang takbe nilu ke toni zoba tata res tan dangzang chuluk zoba se gyuba ker do ker de le zoba ge gore tezo de dondang mebe zoba res tinte dinzi shena kari pento warsan tanyam deba yerme la ichi ge gyu tang tongni la ichi ge gyu tang rangi tawa oho tindra jire do rang la competence ra ta competence marbe nishi ge gyu ge chetu sungu ya de ma do chigre nyere lan pheba ka yo mar.
So we have this category of people with wrong understanding, which refers to we could say the eternalist extremists. That's how it's translated in the English translation I'm using, but maybe not better, but right now we could just say non-Buddhists. So religious people, non-Buddhist religious people, basically. This refers to, in short, refers to the 5 types of religious followers in ancient India. I'm afraid I don't know the names of those in Sanskrit, but there were many, many different religious traditions in ancient India. They're commonly condensed into 5 different categories, but they can be elaborated into, many, many more. The most concise you can condense all of the many these many non-Buddhist views into two. The eternalist extremists and nihilistic extremists, those two. Then that twofold division can be expanded into a fivefold division. And that can be expanded further into a division of 62, so 62 different schools or religions. And that can be expanded even further into 361, or I think maybe 362 different religions. During Buddha's time, this is how many different religious schools there were present in ancient India. If you want to learn more about these, you can look at Longchenpa's Treasury of Precious, Wish-Fulfilling Treasury, Yishinzu, with the Wish-Fulfilling Treasury of Longchenpa. There he goes through he explains the Buddhist view by comparing it to the 62 non-Buddhist religions. So using that categorization of 62. The point of doing all of this comparison with views other than one's own is to come to see, to recognize the qualities of one's own view, to refine one's understanding and one's appreciation of one's own view. It's not enough just to say, oh, well, I'm Buddhist and Buddhism is better than, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, and so on. If you don't know anything about Christianity, how can you say Buddhism is better than Christianity, right? It's also not just like a kind of just being argumentative or something. It's not like just meaningless. It's not just a meaningless exercise either to like put other views down and raise one's own view up. It's actually to really ascertain for one's own benefit. Okay, what are the values of the view I'm holding? What are its special features? And it's and we come to understand that by comparing our view to other views. So yeah, that's the reason all this comparison is done. Comparison of Buddhist views with non-Buddhist views, and then also the comparison of the various Buddhist views with each other, like the Shravaka view, comparing the Shravaka view with the Pratikya view and with the Bodhisattva view, and so on and so forth, the 9 vehicles, right? So the point of all of this process, the point of this examination and debate is, in this perspective, it's all being done from the perspective of the great perfection, right? So the purpose and the aim is to gain conviction in the view of the great perfection, the inseparability of purity and equality, confidence in that view through an understanding of its unique features, which are not found in any other view or religion. That's all.
Tindu kalam ta chiro mutik pa samje churu dushara ina tagi sagene takshe ni tine yara sheshana targa denga tine yara shena talosum ge tu tsangi sa ta mongo shiware tirede ta tonda churu dushana takpar mawada chepar tawa singi yore takpar mawaten la wangchu takpar mawa sing ripa mawa ripa chepa sa ta ke chikche ripa chepa chikche chamjuk takpar mawa chamjuk ba sa ni che so takpar mawa tangjem ba sa chiro mutik ba tangjem ba sa tingi ishu sanga sagene Dusen tapar mawa chetapas, dusen tapa in zetuk the tapa is again the chetapa, setila utupas, chetapas, shivare. Oyata, the jitansim but the more the shiche, the like jumping pass at chetavar, the into tawashi till the tanta tawa, the chenta mawa chick, tanta mawa ji. That the council was on Tamji, Korapara, Ponjo, stang around so Navasaki, Conjo in Sego Marawa. 탐지 규탄 깨는 도바인 세션은 탐지 규례전 대규 대신 셰베서 규례 고박한 바 개정 셰본 되게 송스럽대 탐지 규탄 깨라 개랑서 깨잖아 cost and condition 인직세고 살아 딘데 규탄 깨니라 되는 거 같은 중화를 맞도게 규메 빨리 찍어야 좀 말. 알아서 탐지야 규긴데 좀 파마고 쿠탈라 되는 중화를 중위게 둘라 되는 알아서 중화에서 맞도게 규메 빨리가 좀 말. 다 다음선 강서 월서는 치료를 못 듣고서 강서 월서 먼저 말아서 온축을 소교래서 크리스천 대체세요서도 네 god기 된 소교래서 근데 무슨 방게 나바상기 대세고 말해 이제 그 탐지 규탄 경기 규긴기 중화를 맞도게 달라진 간서서나 규따발의 중화야 말해 규메발의 중화야 말해 야때 딘데 이제 간다 탐지 규긴을 때와 중화를 해서 딘데 간다 딱식이게 탈라 형성 관주에 탈와 요 말을 그래 야 딘에 다인나니 신도 당신 탈에 차방 당 야생가랑 처만 남들나 대송하나 신지 다가 세겐지 요설 반주 다가 세겐지 요설 반주 시엔 세겐지 총사래 다가 시엔이 요 반주 내 착바다랑 저라 착발라 샤나 당바다 중에 차당 중사람 저 레사사라 반주 내 감성 걸어 나 로기 말이야 봐 디인도 칸라 다 세겐데 따프라타와다 다 세겐데 치프르타와 단단가 오만 주반나라 야 되네 나서 사고당 치 보면부터 연된 잠에 못 듣쟁기다 대중세를 못 듣쟁기 룸에 다 대교르슬라브레 디인도 칸라 마랑 쪽에 되네 딱식부인 딱바인 제수 주바인 어디서고요 출을 못 듣기 다 메슬라브레 오만 주반나네 다음에 때는 로아는 프로젝트 최단 강사 예외 넘니송 최기 다음에다 강사 다음에 송여래 디인도 칸라 낭바상기 받아 치료 못익 받아 다 견적이 되는 크리스천다 무슬림 탐식이 다 유에서고 다 집어 보신다 저 나라 권족숨 그 고조래 가서 권족숨 그 제조래 쓰게요래 뒤출룩 다 요겐 탐식이 세당 되래 낭바상기 받이 다게 제교 말해 했으래 이 가서 유견 된들게 종조래 다 유견 들라 치유의 견서나 낭게 유견서 치유세도 사추 멜롱 유견저래 야낭 유견서랑 레게 규저래 레게와 뭐 마산주가 남버셔 받다 군신 남발라 셔와셔와라 바차셔비게 규지고 왕게 근데 밀류 당자당 기당 바길 지당게 딘드게 되는 류딘 담에도 나게 탐체데 랑 레게 왕게 야 되네 오만 주관 다데 시나 망고 쉬고도 야다데 레 설규민도 다데 쇼서 고아레 차서 자 상이라 샤마 되는 차서 말 데인데 강라 다 데링 처로 못이게 땅다바다 막 첸다바니라 샤 데인데 강 딱버려 모아서기 곤조게 제조를 쓰긴티 나와상 힐링 말에 딜스다와 처로 못고 지요리 데 양변 바세는 레균데 메창갑지 메스게 빼다 샹런 샤몬당네 되네 거라 산당네 되네 샤몬들바 나신 홉되게 종교를 마도게 되네 강게 되네 제 곤조게 제바 말이 야 되네 시설베제서 탈라롱로 그렇게 나시래 샤몬 빵런들바 나시래 두바 지세 메 시비 두바 나시래 세겐다 티세겐데 당상만데 체리과도 당상게 두저 탐게 양변 바래도 시사버리고 막 다다 요레스 먼저 빼면 요레스 차바나 요레스 탐제 요 시사버 가게 요 말레스 어때 라고 때 딜라긴 탐시 말아서 계셔네 양변 봐 레균자 케면 랭게 어때 틀어서 딱된 상이 개와시 쇼시 다 드링 들어오셨는데 상이 년도다랑 이제 장주스 마셔도 된 상이 레닝이 사르면 저지 된다지 살살하고 야다 독시셔 상하시 규망도이나 조차 친구이나 가나 호면다
in short, all of the non-Buddhist views can be condensed into eternalistic views or nihilistic views, I mentioned there's a five-fold division, right? A division of 5 different positions. So from among these 5, 4 are eternalistic views, and 1 is nihilistic. Afraid I don't know all the Sanskrit names for these, but I'll try and bring them tomorrow. Some of you probably know them. Some of these, so there are 4 eternalistic positions. Some of these positions believe in a creator God, some of them believe in like an essential eternal self, some believe in eternal substance, but they all believe in a truly existent cause or causal substance or like a creator God, for instance. From what I understand, Christianity teaches that there is a creator God from which everything else has arisen, right? The 5th of these 5 non-Buddhist views is that of in Tibetan we say Gyangpenpa, I think Charvaka is the Sanskrit. They are nihilists. They believe that things just arise without cause. They say it's just like a mushroom suddenly appearing in a field overnight. Things just arise randomly. That's how it is, and when they cease, then it's just like a flame going out. That's the end of it, end of story. They don't believe in, karmic cause and effect or causality or anything like that. These are the nihilists. As I said, all of the non-Buddhist schools can be condensed into these 5 positions, which are basically eternalist positions and nihilistic positions. These are not in accord with the Buddhist view, The Buddhist view is essentially a view of interdependence, right? An understanding that nothing exists inherently from its own side, rather things come about through the interaction of causes and conditions. For instance, take ourselves. Buddhism teaches that we are not created by an eternal God or eternal substance. Rather, we are dependently arisen from the causes and conditions of the 5 physical elements that make up our body, which came from the semen and ovum of our parents, together with the combination of our moments of consciousness and karma, and so on and so forth, right? So this Buddhist view does not accept or accommodate either the extreme of eternalism, like a permanent cause or permanent phenomena, or the extreme of nihilism, which denies karmic causality. In a treatise called Tsema Namjal, the commentary on valid reasoning, again to paraphrase, the text reads, first of all, one conceives of a self, and then in relation to that, an other, and then on this basis comes attachment, in reaction to that, aversion. This triggers the disturbing emotions. They create karma, and thus samsara is established. So this is how it goes, right? If you believe in a real self, then consequences, you have other, and then this triggers a mindset of attachment, aversion, from which further afflictions proliferate. That creates karma, and there we have samsara. Such views are negated, for instance, in the treatise Entering the Middle Way, or Introduction to the Middle Way by Chandrakirti, where he addresses these non-Buddhist views of eternalism and nihilism and establishes the the selflessness of both the person and all phenomena, and shows that there is no really truly existent self or phenomena. There is no such thing as a self created by an eternal God or substance, and rather all phenomena are merely dependent occurrences. They come about through the interaction of outer and inner conditions and so on. There's so much more to say about this. We just don't have the time. There's really a lot of detail that we can go into, looking at the various points of these non-Buddhist schools, the different aspects of eternalist and nihilistic views, and how and why they're negated and so on. But we don't have time to say any more, so I will stop here. In short, what we've just covered was a brief discussion of the non-Buddhist views, which can be summed up into eternalist views and nihilistic views. And tomorrow we will begin to look at the 9 vehicles, starting with the Shravaka vehicle, the Pratyeka Buddha vehicle, and the Bodhisattva vehicle, and moving on through there. We'll go through each of the 9 Buddhist vehicles successively, comparing their view and so on. That's it.
다 여바다 다이 메바 니데 치료 못이보다 당바 상기 쳐버시고 요레스 디 치료를 못이보자 많이 주룩 탐지게 망쳐하게 다 요서고 요레스 인디가 다 가시야 다메세게 들어요서 디 다메세게 티야 무에서 다 또서 쳐버도 다디 개와개와시나 먹고 거서레스 인디 강랑 아랑서 수부티나 다스킨지 요레스 띵모보리 덴두브리 따바레스 아랑서 시소나야 다데 시기 마레스 데 건조 순간아서 되네 소요레스 Atilapeti, Tauta, Tingaran, Namba Sanchez and Dark again the Yomaris. Dark again the Tayu Samseries, and going to go part of the Chiglan, also Dagas and Apemari Salins, and going to Sunshine Mato, Pemaris again the Damari. 풍분히 다음말에 수근이 다음말에 서로만이 다음말에 두신이 두신 남버시었다 다시는 다요 말에 다나 강아 요래서 반제 띵아랑서 남버시바 생긴 셈생긴 지요래 셈생긴 균디 되니 다 나랑서게 깔와 마동게 파도 도나 드네 셈기랑 신고 똥니도 마시게 파도 거르바디 거라 잡되고 디시버체만 또 생이 되버라 다음에 따와서 그래 똥번이 있어 그래 다트네 야래 가서 야 소바침보 야립도 간데 당념된 바 예르메게 따와서 괜도 딱바침보 냠바침보 당념된 바 예르메서 괜 따왔지 다 세겐데 당진데 나 프라타르 비키 지서버다 냠보세나면도 되니다 당념된 바 예르메 올려서 뭐 다자 탑지다 탈비고 레도요 인디칸라 다 단단 가서 내 하고 준전제 지어에서 반주 저를 못이 비준다 되시고 경쟁 가서 나요요세 오야 되네 당진이 여신 돌미트 돌람진 더바가 김메바르 뭐지 참만난 걸 티로 당신 당진이 여신 돌미티스 나생에 나생에 여비신 링라 코발 타두고 말이스 당진이 여신 돌미트 돌을 람짓 네 당진이 돌 더베가 사야 그제래 당진이 여신 돌미트 돌람진 더바가 돌람진 더바가 세텐데 당진이 여신 돌생인데 치료 못이고 세월 때때 뭐마 Sandarkritita, Yangaran Sugetine, Nagarjunata, Tenzo Argamakine, Chiromoti was now Sopa Mambo, Lo Mambo, Sopa, dancing Mambo, and dancing Yomaris, Nagoyaris, the tea into that Didi Hapona, that she got a Mongo shake you already. Then some man named Persona, Podichil, Tigis, Chiromoti, Tundaka, Navas and Yigotapa, Tinemongo, take your that in Zulana, I'll take him the Tawi and Ice. 제가 시우시에교 의견도 결지 라기스나 결론에도 탐지 정의에는 대시에 있는 진짜 모시에교요. 인도다 운이 그런 게 포인트 키드 가르서 봐죠. 다요단 다음에 봐서긴 띵이다 두대요. 다음에 봐서긴 나와상기 개라지. 다요 봐서긴 저런 못 되게 말해. 저런 못 되게 참 말해. 그런 크리스천들 뒤엔사래. 뒤면서디 가서서 무슬림들 뒤엔사래. 뒤엔도 건조요래. 하은 아주 소교래. 딱바래 딱바래 가서 소송이 딱바래 라래 딱바래 딱다래 세요. 된디 나와 상기가 상기 좀 된데 가서 그 덤바래 마도게 상기 좀 된데 가서 제교 말이지. 된디가 된이도 개보다 하고나 다 저를 못 받아 나와 상기가 하고. 다 나와 상기 라야 다음에 받아 찍바래 때양 연주다 랑장이가 다음에 받게 고단 가지고 다음이기 뇌스 난 간지 생각. 때들에지는 얘가 아주 좀 봐시면 그래요. remember 칭찬부터 시작했어.
Just to sum up, the main point, the basic distinction is whether one believes in a truly existent self or not. This is the basic distinction between Buddhist and non-Buddhist views. All non-Buddhist views, it seems, believe in some kind of self, truly existent self. Not just the what we call Hindu traditions, but also, from what I understand, Christianity and also Islam and so on. They believe in some truly existent soul or self or thing, right? That is within us, and even after we die, this continues to exist. The body perishes, but this soul or what have you, self, we can say. This self, which they might describe as a soul or what have you, continues to exist. This is the position and belief of these non-Buddhist schools. It's said that there are perhaps a few non-Buddhist schools who do not believe in a truly existent self, but have some other view that is kind of verging on being a Buddhist view, but that's complicated, and we're not going to get into those sorts of details here. Keep in mind this basic distinction. Non-Buddhists basically assert that there is a truly existent self in some shape or form. Buddhists, the Buddhist teaching, whether it be the Shravaka vehicle or the vehicle of the Great Perfection, whichever teaching you take, no Buddhist teaching accepts the existence of a self. The way in which the lack of self is ascertained and the depth in which it is understood and so on differs amongst the vehicles. For instance, the way the lack of self is understood in the Shravaka vehicle differs from the great perfection, the consummate vehicle. But that basic understanding and premise of no self is across the board in all Buddhist teachings. This is the basic point. And this is established by, we could say, looking at the 5 aggregates that we identify as comprising the self. We can't find the self in, say, the aggregate of form, of feeling, consciousness, perception, and so on. What we can say, all we can say is that there is, we can say there is a mere imputed I, and there is the continuity of mind or awareness that is present and will continue until we realize directly profound emptiness and liberate this consciousness. Then we can say there is the continuum of a consciousness, but that is not a truly existent self. So this is the fundamental Buddhist view of no self. And as I've said, this is the fundamental view that is then kind of developed and deepened as one progresses through the 9 vehicles, arriving at the consummate view of the inseparability of purity and equality, at which point there is not even the notion of purification. We say purity and equality and so on, but there is not, at that point, there is not even the notion of purifying, and there are no concepts, basically. Sorry, you're totally beyond all concepts at that point. Rinpoche quoted from some treatises like the commentary on valid cognition and so on, where it says, as long as you have self-clinging, you can never be liberated, and this has been established and so on. There are so many Buddhist treatises, really huge tomes that have been written over the years by great masters like Nagarjuna and so on, who debated with non-Buddhists and refuted all of these views asserting a self, and established the view of non-self, established those views in writing with these very lengthy treatises, which you can study, which you can study. But without getting to all of that detail, let's return to the main point, which is that non-Buddhist schools, on the whole, they assert a truly existent self in some shape or form, whereas Buddhist teachings do not accept a truly existent self. This is like the baseline view. And as I've said many times, that view is then deepened and clarified as you progress through the yanas, all the way up to the consummate view of purity and equality. So non-Buddhist religion might say that, and just to clarify, non-Buddhist religion might say that they've been created, they are the creation of their God, and they worship that God as a result, right? We could say we worship Buddha, but Buddha is not our creator. Buddha is our teacher, right? So there is an important distinction here. That's all. So we'll leave it here for today, and tomorrow we'll pick up with the Shravaka vehicle and so on. So please dedicate the merit of this teaching session.
Mindan Zendo Jela Jibarajo, Chodo, the name Bodo, the Began on our Joseph, and Bishop and then to black and all Meverajo, of Shan and then Jorim. Tam Jam Jes and yet over a show, the Jete Jake to get on the Bob Malam gets and never told me shaking rose. Tendra Konara Dawson Kirwara Sho, Gonzan Doji Chanche Menche Netin Chen Sawe Lama Inche Kintrawe Tonto Molam Teta Tamche Dagendra Para Sho, Kewa Kondo Yanda Lama Tandra Mechi Ke Pala Langzine Sagan Lamgi Yantera, Paldin Lame Gopan Yoto Sho, Tomban Jiten Kamsu Chambatan, Temban Yu Shinto Savatan, Tenzen Pono Shinto, Temba Yuren Neve Chashi Sho, Pemeri Longa Yuzoba Jingi Tenying Gushin, Tatun Jumling Kange Sabdre Temba, Minho Shatan Tribun Zengiruche, Anki Doji Tekwe Temba, Nincho Tomandas, the Kikri, Kipra Chambaram Gash, Chitu Tembesa Son Kanja, Jo, Tetra, Tupango, Jo, Sunki Temba, Sanki, Sambatam, Chiki, Chingela, and Sonyon, Suvengadan Shimboda. Chuking number dozen some give make a bit and bit of get the destined to break your jay, Nanta, some long chuking, Uncle Dai, and jumps. Subson, Natural Champion, Yamlela, young man, Dogan, the little show. Bandangoro, Pema Sede, Oma Bandangoro, Pema Om Bandran Guru Brahma Sati. Last book,